Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video we are doing step-by-step nail tutorial, and this tutorial is what works for me. Not everything would work for everyone, so it's just a recommended video, not like you have to do. So starting off, I'm pushing back the cuticles. And the next step is recommended. You don't have to do it, but if you are really careful and safe, it will help with your prepping. And that is cutting your client's cuticles. When cutting the cuticles, you never want to tug on the cuticles because that won't hurt your client. So if that's ever happening, you need to replace your cuticle cutter. Now I'm using a narrow drill bit with a rounded top to get in the crevice of the cuticles, and this will help with the excess dead skin that still needs to be removed. And if you skip this step, your nails are most likely to come off faster. And in this clip, I go from one end to the other, and I just go back and forth for all 10 fingers. Now changing drill bits, I'm using this ball-ended one with a pointy tip, so it's easier to get into those small places and it helps to open up the canvas. Now I'm using a sanding bit, and this is to sand out the natural nails oils. This is to help your nails last longer than any press-on set, and also to help the glue stick on really smoothly. Now sizing the tips, you want the nail tip to sidewall of the natural nail. With sizing the nail tips, you never want it too big or too small because it would be able to come off way faster than usual, and your client will come back texting you being like, hey, my nail popped off like a day after getting them done. Now with gluing the tips, you need a small dot of glue. Now with lining up the nail tip, you want to go from the knuckle all the way down, and that's only because sometimes their natural nail bed isn't as straight as their fingers. And you're going to watch me do that for the rest of the nails. Now with sizing the tips, I use the magnet method, and that would work for me, and it's faster too. When cutting the nail tip to their size, you always want to grab the excess nail tip from the end so it's preventing it from flying everywhere. It can really become a safety hazard. And what I do next is very optional, but I file down the sides just so when it comes down to shaping or applying the acrylic, the shape is already crisp and there's not a lot of file or shaping. Now I'm grabbing my sanding bit and filing the nail tip to blend into the natural nail, so when it comes to applying the acrylic, it all blends in together. Now here I'm showing you the primer and dehydrator I'm using, and these both you can get from Amazon, and I highly recommend these because these changed my retention from 3 weeks to 1 month or 2. And before I do get questions, I do use Market Pro MMA liquid moderner with no order formula. And now in this clip I'm using Mia Secret acrylic, and this acrylic is a sheer color. I use it to blend out the natural nail from the nail tip to have a smooth application. For the base color, I'm using my Market Pro cover, and with my application I do use the 1B method, and that's only because I want to save time with my clients. But if I feel like it's needed, I will go in and add some more acrylic. But how I start my application, I do place it where the apex should be, and I start patting the acrylic upwards, trying not to flip the cuticle. Then when I feel like I have a good apex, I start patting down to bring down the acrylic to fill up the rest of the nail tip. Then with filling up the sides, you always want to make sure that your shape is still intact and making sure that it has not become over wide or out of shape. So just keep patting the sides and making sure that they are still in the same shape. And this helps you to save time with filing, and so you also don't have to sit there for like 3 to 4 hours. And this is how the application turned out. So now I'm filing the nails so it can come back to its original shape. With filing the nails, you always want to have a hold of the nail tip just so it's not hurting your clients and twisting it the wrong way that it shouldn't not be. And also, to get a crisp square shape, you want to keep the file as straight as possible. And also, what I like to do while filing, I like to get the file and file the top of the nail just so you do have a firm grip than a e-file. Now moving on with the e-file, I do use a 5-in-1 nail drill bit, and I'm going from one side of the nail to the other side and just going back and forth, and I have the speed from 15 miles per hour. And also, if you're having trouble to having a good grip on your e-file from the nail, you want to place your pinky to have a good stable from the e-file to the nail so it's not going off the nail or going around the nail. Now I'm starting on with the nail art, and I didn't record much of each piece of nail, and I knew because this was going to be a long video, so I didn't want to bore you guys, but I did record some of the nail art. But from the inspo, she did want a high Frenchie, so some of the nails did have high Frenchies in this white color and burgundy color. Now in this clip, I am doing a 3D flower, and I do use Market Pro 3D gel. And how I do the flower, I do grab medium to small beads of builder gel. Then I place them on the nail and I start molding the flower into a petal shape. Then after creating the flower, you cure the flower with a UV light. And don't be afraid to mess around with the builder gel to create a flower, because the gel is very moldable, so you can restart and start all over again without having any issues or of it drying. Now I'm using a airbrush from Amazon and just creating this airbrush look at the bottom of the nail. Then also I use the airbrush to paint the 3D flower. And with doing that, you do see it getting a little messy, and all you have to do is get a brush and dip it in acetone and clean out the sides. Now she wanted a 3D line art. With that, I am using Market Pro rhinestone glue, and from each line art I do cure it with the UV light so it doesn't lose its shape. So now I'm gonna let you guys watch how I do this 3D art because it is self-explanatory, and I'll come back when the nails are done. And these are how the nails turn out. I hope you guys like this tutorial, and go like and subscribe and comment down what you guys want to see next.